Okay.
So we'll just do that. Okay, so it's recording now.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Hello,
hi.
Pat.
You are Sandy.
I am Sandy.
Nice to
After that awfully difficult last meeting we had, I'm
yes.
sorry that things got heated.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of issues here that we need to discuss. So yeah, I do apologize that things got heated as well. But there's a lot of things going on. So let's just kind of run down the issues and kind of get each other's take on each thing and then just kind of go from there. So issue number one, not the biggest of the issues, but the first issue is the loan that we have coming due in like 30 days. $200,000
does
loan.
that mean you're calling it due? I didn't realize you'd already decided that.
Oh,
You mean the
uh,
original 200,000 that you gave me to start the business? You loaned me to start the business.
well, as you know, we can call that due at any point within 30 days. And I
I know. I didn't
apologize.
know
I
you
thought
were
that that
calling
was,
it. I didn't know you'd made the decision to
well,
call
we
it
don't
now.
have to, we can put that one on hold for a second. So we don't have to
Okay.
necessarily call that due. I thought that that was something that you already knew. My apologies. Um, so let's just go into the first major issue. So while I was out on vacation, leaving Fawn, my secretary, in charge in some ways, you made the decision to upgrade the lumber to oak. So just kind of explain to me what your thought process was there, because I think what I'm getting
Yes.
from Fawn is that she's feeling a little bit like she was pressured into making that decision, but she wasn't really given any sound logic there. So I just want to kind of understand both sides of the story.
Yeah. So recall when you and I spoke earlier on about how we were going to differentiate this condo association by quality against the new construction that's going on down the road. And so that's why you upgraded the appliances. We're doing enhancements to these units. And so I got access to this fine wood trim. What was it that I bought? But anyway, at about um, half price. So it was an amazing opportunity to really add more quality to the units. And for, $2,500 a unit, we could get 25,000 more in purchase price. So it seemed like a no-brainer to me, very consistent with what we had talked about, or I wouldn't have pushed it. I didn't have any financial reason to push it. I wanted to see this, us get the most from the condos that we could.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think that it was clear before I left that the upgrades that were made were kind of the upgrades we were sticking with. And also with the way that the contracts were worded, there were to be no, financial upgrades, especially unless both parties signed off on it. So I mean, for it to be just an extreme financial cost, and I think Fawn had the understanding that it was going to be a 3% increase per unit, which would have been just a couple $100. But then, seeing the invoice that, it was just astronomical. And I'm failing to see the logic there. So what did
Well,
the
the
oak
logic was we get a much higher purchase price, and it's consistent with the strategy that you set to differentiate based on quality. So it made financial sense and strategic sense. Um, I
well,
understand. I understand the wording in the contract. I mean, we've been doing business together for so long. I hope you don't question my intention with this. I mean, it was to make a better business situation for both of us.
yeah, and I think that the problem is, and maybe
Fortunate
this
that you see that $2,500 as astronomical. That seems like a real awfully big word for not that much money, but okay.
Well, I mean, it is when you times it by 100 units. So that ends up being a lot of money at the end of the day that we weren't planning on. It also added some additional cost as far as the painters and things like that. So there were added costs along the way based on that decision. So that would have been something that, I mean, if it was truly a couple $100 a unit, then I could see you moving forward with that. But to cut into the profit margin on an investment so dramatically without me signing off on that would have just been not something that we would have ever done before. So
Right.
I
And again, it wasn't to cut into the profit margin, it was to boost the profit margin.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, you sold them at the price before. Okay. Okay. So we have a problem here.
Yes. Yes, we do. So I mean, so your invoice of $950,000, it's just not going to work for me and everything else we have going on. So the condos, maybe something that you don't already. So this is another reason maybe we should have just had a conversation about it, because the entire condominium complex is actually already sold. And that was a deal that was done while I was on vacation. And so now with that added cost, it's essentially leaving us with no profit. So it's just not going to work that way. So we need to, we need to figure out what's going to work best. So we do have a couple of other things, that we can talk through that maybe we can help settle like all of the deals here. So, and I apologize. I assumed improperly that you already knew about the loan. So we have the loan together, the $200,000 loan together, that we do have the ability to call up within 30 days. And that is something that we're going to have to do. We have some other investments that have hit our plate. The market is really volatile right now. But we have some other opportunities that have come up, that we feel like we need to take advantage of and jump on pretty quickly. So with
Do
that,
you
we are going
already
to,
have a woodwork subcontractor for those? I mean, you could put me out of business with the
um,
stroke of a pen easily, but I was hoping that we could continue to collaborate in the future.
yes. So I would,
Is that
that's,
not
that's
something
exactly what
you're
I was going to
interested
say.
in?
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to say. So we do have some other investments that have come up, um, along the way. And I know that the market's difficult for everyone. So I'm hoping that maybe, with these new investments that have come up, there's a lakefront property that we're interested in purchasing, as well as a hotel development that we're interested in collaborating with the partnership on. So I think maybe with potentially with the invoice that we've gotten from you to settle that along with the loan, and then maybe some future collaboration, we might be able to come to some sort of agreement here. Um,
Okay.
so um, so your invoice was
Can I ask,
950. Yeah.
Pat, I'm sorry. Could I understand better why you're calling the loan at this time? I understand that you have the right to. I'm curious, you're saying you need that cash for these future opportunities?
Potentially. So that's one of the things that we were kicking around, is potentially calling that loan due to help with these future investments. But if there's a way around it based on this conversation, then that's something that we don't necessarily have to do. Or
Understand.
maybe we can call a portion of it. Maybe we could potentially increase the interest rate on it or something. We should need to come up with some sort of solution here to where it doesn't put you out of business. It doesn't, but it also doesn't forfeit these investments that have come to my attention. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on all of that. So theoretically, according to our contract, and the contract's pretty sound. I mean, I know that, especially with the historical relationship that we have, I obviously don't want to burn that bridge. You do great work. And that's not something that we want to lose. There's not a lot of other contractors in the area that do the quality of work that you do. So we would love
Thank you.
to, oh, can you still see me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, my computer went crazy. We would love to collaborate in the future on all of these things. So
Great.
that's very, very important to us. Just know that going into all of that. But there are a lot of
I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
yeah, but there are a lot of things that are coming up that we need, cash on hand for. We need capital for. With the market being so volatile right now, the banks aren't just willing to loan money the same way that they used to. So we do need to come up with something that works out for both of us, that creates cash on hand for us. So we were only planning on paying the 700,000, and I know you're asking for 950,000. So how much did you end up paying? And I apologize, maybe it's in the documentation, but how much did you end up paying for the lumber that you purchased compared to what the other would have been?
The actual cost was 9,100 for each unit, as opposed to the 7,000 anticipated. So that's not
Okay.
the price of the lumber alone, but the differential per unit was actually, the cost basis was actually
Okay.
1,500,
Yeah, I just noticed in your wording, you said
2,100.
that the oak normally costs $12,500, but you didn't actually put what it actually costs. So I was just curious if that was information that you were willing to provide.
They gave it to me for about half price. I'm not sure that I have an exact number in my information, but
Okay.
it was at about half price. It was an amazing deal. The other contractor who had ordered it backed out on the deal, and so the go-between needed cash fast, and so he gave it to me at an amazing discount.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. And then, and like I said, because of that, we received another notice from another subcontractor, the painter, stating that they were requesting an additional $300 per unit based on all of the extra work that was involved in utilizing the oak instead of the original lumber. And that's something that we feel like is fair. That wasn't a decision that they made. It was extra labor involved there. So that's something that we want to be willing to pay them. But again, that wasn't, that's a cost overrun that wasn't because of our decision making. So that's going to be an additional $30,000 right there to pay that painter for the extra work that they did. So that's something that kind of needs to be taken into consideration a little bit as well. So I've done a lot of talking. So I would like to kind of get your thoughts on all of this and kind of see where you stand with everything. Again, I want this to end as an amicable relationship for both of us. I want to continue to work with you in the future. So if we are able to get there, I know that the phone conversation didn't go well at all. I was hopeful that face to face we would be able to just sort of, be able to work something out.
Yeah, me too. And it's good to hear that you want to continue the relationship going forward. I want the same. Um, yeah, I mean, my back is against the wall is where I am. Um, I, I don't have money for trips around the world and that kind of thing. I'm really down to the bare bones here, and the extra outlay for that wood really gets me in trouble. I'm really I'm really scared. I'm really scared I'm going to lose my business.
Okay.
Um, so I hear you that the contract says what the contract says, and I don't dispute that. And I need to keep my business afloat. So I love what you're saying about, let's see if we can get creative in future collaborations or something like that, because I have going out the door right now upwards of $1 million. Yeah, if you
For this
call
project.
somewhere between 900 and 1100, if you, depending on what you decide to do with the loan. And
Okay.
so and I don't have that. I don't have any of that. That needs to be based on incoming money. So I'm just being honest with you. If you say we're in it together, that's where I am.
Okay. Well, so I know that you have so like I said, I think there's potentially some opportunity here. So we have this lakefront property that has come to our attention. That is they're selling for around $200,000 right now. Now, in a normal environment with a lot of development opportunity and things like that, it's worth a lot more than that. So I don't know if maybe there's a way to work out the funding to where we could potentially go into that as a partnership. Um, you know, on investing in that property and then also doing the work on the property, sort of partner in a couple of different ways. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I like that idea, but I mean, I don't have money to invest in it. And I would need to ask for part of my compensation for my work to be upfront. If
Okay.
you're saying to me you're not willing to pay more than $700,000 today, I'm still underwater at that point.
Well, I
And
think
so I would need to work out something where the money comes earlier, but I still do the work for you in the future.
so.
Sorry.
You said you have $1 million going out the door. So even if I paid you the $950,000, you still won't have enough to pay all of your debts. Is that what you're saying?
It depends on if you're going to call the loan or not.
Okay. So the $1 million is based on us calling the loan.
Yeah, it'd be 1,120,000 if you call the loan.
Okay.
I mean, 1,120,000.
if we call the loan. So 120,000.
So it's 920 if you don't call the loan. And that includes the back rent I owe you, which I would love to talk about if we could adjust that rent going forward. And then my materials, payroll to my folks, and the invoice for the oak.
Okay. So truly, if we paid you $950,000, only 30,000 of that would be remaining in your pocket.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, when I say I'm against it, I'm against it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know
So
that's tough. But
so some other things, just based on small town things. You have a pretty nice house that you are living in. Is there any opportunity there to get some equity out of your house that we could maybe kind of work with?
yeah, I'm not living in it. I'm renting the apartment from you. But yes, what I know is that, the value of the house is over $1 million, and in the depressed market we're in, I would get about 800,000 for it. So I would lose $300,000 in equity just by selling today, which
What
is
what if we didn't
heartbreaking.
what if we didn't sell it? What if we just tried to pull some equity from it for a couple years until everybody's able to sort of stabilize?
There's a reason that we cannot refinance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, not I mean, refinance or do like a home equity line or something based on just using the equity in your house.
The banker added that in today's lending environment, here's what the banker told me. In today's lending environment for high-end real estate, the house can't be refinanced in a way that would yield any more than the 375 for which it's already mortgaged. So I don't know if there's creative deals we can do beyond that.
So what's the amount that's already mortgaged? Like what amount is, so you said it's worth over a million. If you sold it though, you'd only get 800,000, but you said you would lose the equity, but would the 800,000 pay off your mortgage?
There's 375,000 mortgaged right now.
Okay. So that's quite a bit of equity there. If you could genuinely sell it for 800,000 or so now, if that's what it's worth, that's quite a bit of equity that could work
It's
on.
not
And then
what
it,
it's worth. It's $300,000 less than what it's worth. I mean,
right.
it's hard to just
Well,
write
that's why I
off
would
three hundred
hate for
thousand
you to,
dollars.
right. That's why I would hate for you to sell it. But if we could capitalize on some of the equity that exists there, you could create other opportunities for yourself. You could get yourself out of this situation, out of the potential bankruptcy. Um, invest with me because again, we've had a great partnership over the years. You do great work. I understand people do things when their backs are against the wall. Sometimes I'm not sure if that's what happened here. I think you probably really were having my best interests at heart. I don't
I
see any
appreciate
reason
that.
why
I
you,
really did. I
uh,
mean, why
uh,
would I spend more money with it for any other reason? I
right.
really did think that this was our strategy, was to differentiate based on higher quality.
Yeah, I think that,
I didn't know you were selling them.
yeah. Yeah. So I think that's, again, I think there was some things I could have done better here. I could have been more candid about that. The condominium sold while I was on vacation. I'm assuming I would have probably told you that when I got back, but also there was a lot
Or
of
if
things.
Fawn had known, it's funny that Fawn didn't know, but maybe we just missed each other by a little.
Yeah. And fawn is a,
So if we could extract, I don't know how to do that, but if there's a way for us to extract money from my house without us selling it, I'd be willing to increase the mortgage on it if I could still retain it, because in time when the market kind of rights itself,
right,
there's
right.
a
Yeah.
lot more to be harvested from it.
Yeah, so I think if we could just, if we would be able to do that, just use some of the equity that is in your house. And then again, I would be willing to go in as like a partnership even on the lakefront property. That way it's an investment
So
for
what would that
you.
look like?
So I think that we
What do
could
you
go, I mean, we could even do maybe half on like they're selling it for 200,000. We could go half on it. 100,000 for me, 100,000 for you. And then work out a deal on for like the labor and things like that as well, to where that makes sense for you as well. And maybe
okay?
go at it that way.
Mhm.
if that's something that you're interested in. I mean, the
I am.
hotel deal that I'm interested in is with some other partner. So I'm not sure that there's any partnership opportunity there, but there's certainly opportunity for you to do some of the work, although it's not in town, it's more like on the coast. So I don't know if that's something that you'd be willing to travel and do some of the work, but I could even get you some work
Sure.
there just to kind of, keep you on your feet.
Yeah,
Again, I'm trying to make this sort of equitable for everyone.
I
So
appreciate it. I think the future work would be great. I like the idea of taking money from the house and using it to go in partnership on the smaller deal or the closer deal. All of that sounds good to me. Is there any
yeah.
way you could hold off on the loan for a little bit?
So with holding off on the loan, the only problem with that is I need to have cash on hand. Now these opportunities are things that I sort of need to jump on right away. So I'm thinking that maybe if we're going half on the lakefront property, I could potentially only call up a portion of the loan and then do the rest later. Maybe look at it that way. I don't know if that's something that you'd be willing to
Yeah,
do.
I'm just trying to, I don't have a sense for what a bank will give me from my house. If I can get, I mean, if I have a $375,000 mortgage, are they going to let me take out $300,000 in equity?
Um, So yes, if your house is worth that amount of money. So it would just be, yeah, like a home equity sort of line of credit. So it's kind of like refinancing your house. They would come in and appraise it. And if they say, yes, it's worth $850,000, and you only have a $375,000 mortgage there, because all the bank wants to do at the end of the day is get their money back on the house. So if you don't make the payment, they can sell the house and make sure they get everything back. So
Okay.
yes, if
Let's
they,
say I can get 400 out of my house. And if you're paying me 700
Mhm,
right now, so that puts me at 1.1,
yes,
right?
correct.
So,
And I get, and
if you could call half of the loan and I could use the other $100,000 of that 1.1 to go in with you going forward, I would see some return instead of just being completely zeroed out. I mean, that would really make me feel better. And knowing that we have work on the horizon as well of just me contracting to you, subcontracting to you, that would help me feel like I have a pathway to getting my feet back under me.
yeah, I think and that would be what I was assuming as well. So I was anticipating paying you 700,000. So I already had my profit margin worked out there and I was good with that. So, as far as the investment property, I would be losing a little bit there because now I'm partnering, but I think I gain a lot more with that, with us being able to amicably work that out.
I
So I
appreciate
think
that.
I gain a future relationship and a partnership that's been, pretty good over the years. We haven't had these kinds of issues ever. So that's why I can't assume that we're doing anything shady or anything now. So I think to me that's win-win, and there's going to be other investment opportunities along the way. And if you're able to, stay on your feet and investing is something you'd like to continue to do, then yeah, I think this is something we can continue to partnership down the line as well. So
I really like hearing that. I have loved our working relationship and I love doing the woodwork, but if we can grow that to even some partnership opportunities going forward, that would be fantastic.
yeah.
I'd like to continue on both of those paths.
Okay. And then
I have one issue about the apartment I'm leasing from you. I
yeah, so
gave you
that's what I was
notice.
about to say. So are you,
Okay.
I think I misunderstood. So you're living in the apartment? For some reason I thought it was where you were operating your business.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm doing. Sorry.
And I honestly don't, I'm trying to find out quickly, but I assumed that you were living in the, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm assuming you were conducting business out of the property that you're leasing and not living there, but maybe I misunderstood.
Regardless, I'm going to have to. I told you that I was not going to re-up the lease,
Okay, so you're
towards the
not
end.
doing that.
No, no, no. But the place that I had found that was cheaper fell through. The current resident is going to stay in it, and
Okay.
so I need to. I even want to ask you if there's any possibility that we could go to $4,000 a month because 5,000 is high for that area, and that $1,000 a month
Well,
would really help me out.
well, unfortunately, based on the fact that I thought that you were leaving, I have another tenant that is wanting to move in at the end of the month, and they're actually willing to pay me $6,000 a month to rent that apartment. Um, so, nothing's been putting in writing yet. But that is something that we kind of had a verbal agreement on. So I don't know that that's something I can necessarily back out of. I mean, I can, but especially especially in light of some of the things we've already talked about and, partnering together and that sort of stuff, but I don't know that I could forego that extra $1,000 a month that they're willing to pay above and beyond what you're already paying. So
I
if
hear
you're
you.
willing
Let
to
me
come
look
up to
at my
six
notes while
thousand
you're
dollars a
talking.
month, I'm happy to keep you in the space, and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't be able to go down to $4,000 a month.
I'm surprised that you're able to get 6,000 because conditions in that area have not been good. Who's willing to pay you
Well,
6,000?
it's another local business owner, and actually that's I'm being told that $6,000 is the fair market price for that space. I mean, we had it appraised, all of that kind of stuff, and that's kind of what what the appraisal came back at is $6,000 a month for the space.
So
Now,
that's really
the
different
other
than
thing is that
market information.
another thing we haven't necessarily discussed is you're at this point about 2 months behind on the rent. So we haven't really
Yeah.
discussed that $10,000 yet either.
So the totals I've been telling you about 920,000 or 1,100 include
Okay.
paying that back today. So
Okay.
I'm ready
Perfect.
to pay you that.
Perfect. Okay.
I want to
Perfect.
come even on that.
Okay. Um, so let me see the term.
Could we do 5,500? My God.
Um, let's see. So I think maybe, let's try this. So I would be willing to, yes, go down to 5,500 if maybe you're willing to cut me a deal on some of the future work that we have coming up and these already established investment opportunities for you. So this is work that I can promise you today. We can put it in writing today, guarantee that it's yours, but at some sort of discount. Because again, I'm not only losing half of the investment that I thought I had, but now I'm also going to lose $500 a month on this apartment by keeping you there. Um, but if you're willing to cut me a deal on some of the future work, then I would be willing to make those concessions as well.
So this deal with I think that's a good idea. This deal with the condominiums, I had given you my lowest ever margin of 7.5%, which just is scary to me, even from a contingency perspective. If we could do it, I'll be willing to do future business at that rate again. Does that work for you?
Um,
That's less than what we've normally done.
so what was our normal rate? I do recall that you cut me a deal on
I
those because
normally
there were
ask
so
for
many
15
units.
to 20% to allow for contingencies. But for this
Okay.
condo, I went down to 7.5. I would do that again for the next deal. This
Okay.
next work that you already have in promise. And I'm hoping we can get back up to something more normal, but I would give you that break going forward for the deal we're making now.
Okay. So as far as, let me make sure of something. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Um, if you could come down to maybe just on the next job, not on all future jobs, obviously, but just maybe on just the lakefront property, come down to like maybe a 6% instead of 7.5. Is that doable?
Well, I got to pay my people at 7.5. I'm barely breaking even.
Well, if we're just talking profit margin, that would just be money that you're getting, correct?
It says at 7.5%, I would, on the current deal at 7.5%, I would at best break even, keep my crew of skilled workers intact and pay some of my fixed costs. Because I have costs of, running my business that aren't, directly related to the
Yeah.
materials and labor that I do for you,
Yeah, no,
on
that's
our
fair.
projects together. And so,
Okay, and I do see that now that you did bid that job extra low, because you wanted to get it. So,
yeah, I
okay,
think continuing at that is as risky as I can be with my business at this point
okay. Even though
for
now
this
this is
project.
like an investment property for you as well, so you'll be making money there as well.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's less than 50% of what we normally do. That to me feels like a good break.
Okay. Um, okay, I'm willing to do that at the 7.5%. So can we maybe do that on the lakefront property and the hotel property as well? Okay.
Oh, I don't know. How big is the hotel? I'm sorry, you mentioned that it was farther away.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know what
that
that's
would be
gonna do
something that you might not even
cost.
be willing to do, but it's a so the hotel property is let me see. Um I'm trying to see where it's if it tells me where it's located.
I mean, I'm just gonna have to factor in the travel and travel
Yeah.
expenses for my crew, so it's gonna be a little bit of a higher cost, but that'll be reflected in a 7.5.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm good with that. Yeah, I think
How
I'm
about
good
we
with
do 7.5 for the lakefront, 9 for the is it a hotel you said?
yeah.
And then in future ones, we'll negotiate something new.
Okay, that works. Yeah, that works. And I think that that's fair, right? So that we can just get this settled now. We don't have to deal with paying lawyers and all that kind of stuff to try to figure all of this out. I think that for us to just walk away from this, both of us, me relatively unscathed, scathed, but not for any reason that has anything to do with you, but relatively unscathed. I think that I'm good with that. So I would pay your $700,000 invoice today. Um, so I would get, well, not the invoice, but the original $700,000 that we discussed. I would get that paid. Um, you're going to discuss with the bank regarding equity in your home to cover the rest. And then we'll go as a partnership on the lakefront property. So it's a $200,000 ask. So it'll be $100,000 each on the lakefront property. Is that what, let
Yes.
me make sure I'm not missing anything.
And the loan,
And then the loan, you're going to pay back $100,000 right away. Correct?
I just got, it's all contingent on the bank equity come from the house, but okay.
Pay back a
I mean,
hundred thousand dollars right
equity
away.
is
And then,
there. I just had it appraised, and so it should be straightforward.
okay, 100,000 right away. And then you'll continue to pay 10% interest on the 100,000 that remains for another, year.
What's the return on the hotel gonna be? I mean, on the lakefront? When you say
Um,
partnership, do we know what I should expect?
so we haven't gotten to the nitty gritty details of what the return on that is yet, but it's on the market for 200,000. And if we turn around and sold it tomorrow, we would be able to sell it for 250,000. And there's a ton of development opportunity in the area. So I think it could be, favorable. We'll have to do some legwork on it, but I think it's going to be very favorable for all parties involved.
Okay,
So again, we would buy it for 200,000. We would each immediately make 25,000 on it if we turn around and sold it the next day.
yeah.
It's just on the market because they
That's
want to
not
do a quick
gonna
sell.
enable me to pay, I mean, I've got to pay my rent and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not gonna be able to get the 100,000 to you, the additional 100,000 to you as quickly. If we could hold off on that for a year or so, that would
On the
be amazing.
lakefront property.
Nope, the rest of the loan, the second 100,000 of the loan.
So unfortunately, I have to have the cash on hand in order to be able to purchase the lakefront property and the hotel. So that's money that I
I
need
thought you
right
said
away.
that you could just call $100,000 of the loan.
I'm sorry. Oh,
Mm.
you're talking about the second 100,000.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't even be able to pay the second 100,000 in a year?
I mean, I don't know. It depends on what business is going to come, but I'm trying not to get my liabilities ahead of what the businesses that I have
Okay,
coming
I
in.
see what you're saying. So maybe we just keep it as it is, that it's just I think right now it's month to month and we can call it up whenever, whenever we see fit, but
Yes,
we've been
and we
working that out.
agree as partners that I want to get that paid off as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I think we just keep the contract as is then and just keep it month to month, but now it's $100,000. But we'll still
Right,
keep,
instead of two.
and let me make sure that these I'm getting all jumbled. I have so many notes. Let me
I know.
write some things down here and make sure that the numbers are going to work. So
I think, Missy, there's a time limit on our Zoom.
oh
There's a thing
gosh.
that, do you have the remaining meeting time? We can just start up again, clicking on
Yeah,
the same meeting.
I'll go ahead and schedule another meeting and then I guess we can probably still use the same meeting ID and everything, right?
I think we can. I think we can click on it again. We just have to, we can't run this one again. I mean, we can't run this through.
Okay. So do you want to go ahead and hang up now and just join a new one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right. We'll do that.
So I'm going to click the same thing you sent me before.
Okay, cool. All
Thanks.
right.